that extension of, that childhood interest in kind of like, building things, taking things apart, and and that enjoyment you get of seeing things sort of like restored to the way that they should be. And I always loved that as a kid, and certainly I think that's what's sort of carried through into adulthood for me is just that passion to work on things. And so that's what's exciting for me about owning a classic car. The Beetle for me has this sort of wonderful sort of silhouette. It's immediately recognizable. There aren't many cars that you can draw the outline of and that people will recognize, and the Beetle is one of them.
So when the car actually rolled off the production line in 1968, it was the first of the new generation of Volkswagen Beetles, which had the upright headlights, it had disc brakes on the front, and with this model it came with the 1500 engine, which, in its day was pretty nippy. I mean, it would push out about 44 brake horsepower. Since I've had it, it's had a vintage supercharger from Judson fitted, and in its latest incarnation it's now 2-litre engine, which has a longer crank, bigger heads, higher compression, and twin 40 Weber carburetors, as well as things like the Porsche fan that you'll see on it. And now this pushes out probably about somewhere between 120 and 130 brake horsepower, which is quite an increase from the 44 brake horsepower it originally came with. I've got many favourite parts. The trouble is that, when you own a car for a long time, is that every part has a story to it, and certainly, it's very true with this one. From the engine, which a lot of love and attention has got into building that up and setting it up. The early Porsche wheels which are fitted to it. The narrowed front axle, which just makes sure that the wheels sit sort of squarely inside the wings, through to the gauges, the steering wheel. There's so many parts to this car that mean something to me, because I've had to be on a journey to source them and to restore them before putting them on the car, that it's difficult to sort of say there's one thing that I really love. But for me, I think the engine is probably what makes this the most fun to drive. I find that there is a greater acceptability, I think, in the VW community to modify cars, more so than you see in other areas of the classic car sort of world. And I think what's great is that a lot of VW owners, myself included, we build the cars in the way that we want them to be. And VW always made them in a way that they were very easy to maintain, and upgrade. You can bolt off the wings on this car, so it's really a car which has been built to be modified and adapted, I suppose. But for me, a lot has changed on this car, and everybody has a different
I guess, sort of rule for how they modify cars, but I always think you should keep the spirit of the car. And so everything on this car has been done with the intention that it should look reasonably stock from the outside, and should I ever wish to, you could always put it back to being completely standard. Every classic car owner will go through this phase, but it's a point every few years where you think, maybe I should sell it, and then you take it out again, and you fall in love with the car all over again. And I think that's the great thing with these, particularly a car which has been very much made the way that I wanted it to be. And, I think you never really reach the end of the journey with it. There is always one other thing that you want to change or improve. And I'm still at that point. I'm still at the point I was when I was 17, thinking, there's one more thing and it will be done. And I still haven't, I guess, got to the point where I know that it's actually finished. It's a car that I don't think I will ever let go of. I'd like to think that my daughter maybe will have it in 15 years from now, but we'll see. I may not actually in the end want to let her have it. So.